I remember writing on a piece of paper, we were at $450,000.
Okay.
And my goal was to, go above and beyond that the next year. So obviously we've grown in so many ways since then. But even at that time, I was bringing on a manager. So I was able to figure out how that person was going to impact our bottom line. And she did our socials. She responded to DMs. She helped with the flow of the front desk. And I probably doubled that in the next 2 years.
Katelyn Corrado has built Salon Ish into one of the highest performing multi-seven-figure salon brands in the Pacific Northwest. For the past 20 years, she's been breaking industry norms, developing one of the most phenomenal salon cultures in the U.S. today, and redefining what salon standards look like. In 2025, Katelyn's team of 60 served nearly 7,000 guests, including more than 2,200 new clients. And Katelyn is able to build up the clientele of every single one of her employees within a matter of months. I had to ask her, you bought your salon for $19,000.
Yeah.
16 years ago. And now you've scaled it to the multi-seven-figure-a-year level. I have no doubt you are in the top 1% of salons in the U.S. today. What you've built is extraordinary. Do you think that you had some kind of unfair advantage becoming a salon owner?
I definitely feel like I had bite-sized opportunities. Nothing came at me super huge and quick. So I do feel like every time I maxed out was the time to take the next step. I definitely don't feel like I ever did that prematurely. I had a little tiny lash studio in my home after working a couple places as an esthetician and probably not being, meant to be under someone else's journey. But when I had the opportunity to rent a room at this salon, I was the one of two estheticians at the time, and it was really self-operating. The owner wasn't there. She had a full-time job. And so it was really run by the independent stylists and one esthetician. And so it just kind of really organically flowed. I had a full-time job paying for that rent and paying for, my personal expenses. And so I saved and saved and saved. But within 6 months, that esthetician had the opportunity to move. And so I was able to kind of bite-size buy her business. And then the salon owner was ready to move on desperately. There were some issues within the salon. She just didn't have the greatest relationship with everybody. And it was like palpable. So at 24, I said, hey, I could buy it. And what would that be? And she was, really just looking to have her debt paid off. And so I talked to my parents because I'm like, what the heck? I don't do hair. I don't know how to speak hair. There are I think there was maybe 8 stylists at the time that were really experienced and knew exactly what they wanted, and that wasn't it at the time. And so a few people already had plans to leave once it sold, and I have one still OG who she just got our Legend Award because she has been really a ride or die even before the purchase. And it just happened organically that it was time, and it was beautiful.
You say that it happened organically. Something that people ask me often is, I'd really like to take over for my salon owner, or I can tell that my salon owner is burnt out and she's done, but I care about this space so much. Mm-hmm. There's parts and pieces of me that wonder if she would sell to me, let me take over, let me come in as a partner.
Yeah.
But there's often a hesitation around approaching the subject because it's almost like asking to take somebody's child. It can be very deep and personal to ask somebody if they're interested in selling all or part of their business. Mm-hmm. Did you approach the owner, or was she talking about the fact that she was not interested in owning the salon moving forward?
Her lease was up soon, and some things were happening without her knowledge, that some of the stylists were talking to the building owner about them taking over and them removing her. It was a weird situation, but ultimately, I don't think that's what the building owners would have done. I think they would have renewed her lease. But knowing that, I've never not been afraid of conversation, maybe to a fault at times, but you know, she had popped in to collect rent and get the receipts of all the things we've bought and reimburse us. And I said, hey, would you ever be willing to sell the spa portion? I'm alone. There's 2 other rooms. I need some SD friends. And she said, yeah, for sure. So already it was something she was considering. But the building owner said, no, we're not going to split the lease. If you want this, you have the salon portion, because they were all suites at the time. And so you have to take both the salon suite and the spa suite. And so I was like, oh, absolutely not. Like, I'm not a stylist. So I called my dad, and he's always been big in management. And so a rock for sure. And he was like, why would you not? And I was like, oh. And he was like, you don't have to speak hair to lead these people. And so I called her back, and I'm like, hey, the building owners said no, unless you were willing to walk away from it all. And she was like, okay. So I think there was definitely an advantage of just her passion being really, really gone at that point. She wasn't behind the chair, rarely there. And you could feel the tension with the other stylists needing somebody there. I don't know that it was the 24-year-old me that they needed there, but that's what we did. Here we are.
When that 24-year-old you stepped into that leadership role, were there any stylists who immediately said, I'm out? She's my coworker. She's an esthetician. She's not my boss.
For that specific reason, no. For the reason that they had already planned to leave and they already had other opportunities, they definitely, once that lease was up, they were out. And so I think that was for the best, because they were definitely on to something different. For the ones that did stay, they stayed for several years. And, whether it was retirement or moving on to something less big, because they could see what was happening for sure. I probably couldn't see what was happening. I had committed to 1 year, I'm not touching the space. It's going to stay the same. Within I swear, 24 hours, I was painting, I was ripping out stations. So a lot of the things that who I thought I was, I learned that first year that no, we're going hard. And I feel like that was uncomfortable for some people, which I totally get, especially now. But back then it was a little painful, because I'm like, wait, just wait for what I'm going to do. But that really hometown feel was important for some people. And I just don't think that was ultimately my vision, even though I didn't really have one at the time.
So the Salon Ish as it stands now is very different than the space that you invested in 16 years ago. I've been in Salon Ish twice now, once in 2021, once in 2023. It's exquisite. It's exceptional. And I've mentioned to you before, it's one of those places that you almost can't even imagine. It's hard to believe that somebody can create a space and an energy and an environment like Ish. It's very unique. Can you paint a picture for us of what your business looks like today?
Yes, and it is literally not even probably recognizable from 2010. And it wasn't necessarily my thought out plan, but the way that the layout was in 2010 was almost like you walk in the front door and it's a mini mall made up of different suites. There was a bridal shop, the salon, some smaller office spaces with like a tech guy and an office clerk. And so every moment I feel like it was every 2 years, something happened. And when I say bite size, that's what I mean is I had these opportunities to take over each suite as they opened up and figure out what I was going to do with them. So at one point, an office space became our break room and color room, which was originally inside of the salon. And then a catering company that was down the hallway, that became our expansion from 3 spa rooms to 8. And so even though it wasn't part of the plan, it really unfolded in a way that was affordable for me. And I could really capitalize on the space, but in a way that was so comfortable. And I also think comfortable to a point for the team too. You know, growth is scary for people, especially when they've been in a space for a long time. And with me, who operates so quick, so hyper, I feel like there's times where people are like, what is happening? Can somebody give me the details? And so I think over the years, I've gotten better with planning and sharing too. But ultimately, in 2020, the bridal shop was able to move to a separate space. And I had bought the building when my son was born. So at that point, you know, it was 10 years into owning the building. She was my tenant, and it was just her and I in the space. And it's almost 9,000 square feet overall.
Wow.
And she found a storefront that was perfect for her. So we were able to completely take down all the walls. It was no longer a space of different suites and really expand. So we went from 8 salon stations. We have 17 now. And then with another space next door opening up, we went from 8 treatments, really 3 treatment rooms in 2010 to now we have 18. So it's been gradual and insane all at the same time, but it really does expand really far. And so every time there's been a need, that's where I feel like I've had these opportunities to fill that need when we're at the max capacity. So we also opened up the platform, which is our education space, which you've been to. And that was because even though the space of the salon and the spa is so huge, to be able to cater to the education side of our world, it was really needed. And so now it's an event space for the community, for baby showers and bridal showers, but also team meetings. So it fills a void that I think a lot of salons come to of like, we don't have space. How could we host this? You know, we're able to do that, but then also utilize it as an income generator too with rentals.
Can we go to the DMs?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Steph says, if you had to put a number on it, how much do you think you've invested in the salon over the years financially?
So much.
Yeah. I mean, 16 years too. That's huge.
Yeah.
Right?
Our remodel in 2021, I mean, that was probably $250,000.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that was building out the spa and doing some improvements in the salon. We haven't had to do like structural stuff. So I feel like there's a blessing there that it was an existing salon, and the improvements we've made have been not from the dirt, which is great, but a lot. I feel like it's ever evolving for me. But I do feel like I love design so much that it's constantly in my head.
One follow-up question, when you decide to do a $250,000 expansion remodel, call it what you want to, do you take out a loan for that? Do you take on debt? Are you able to self-fund? How does that work for you?
I was able to get a loan for the remodel, the large remodel. And that was the first loan I had taken.
Which is a huge decision. That's why I ask, because a lot of people say, I think I'm sitting on an opportunity, but it's $250,000.
Right. But think about this. I was going from 8 stations to 17. I was going from 8 rooms to 18.
So you're thinking potential.
There's no way we're not going to make up for that, right? And so ultimately, sure, it's a risk, but we needed that space. There was no way around it. And so the space that we moved into was my leaser, at the bridal shop. I mean, we're so far beyond those numbers that she was paying me in rent that it would have been foolish not to take that opportunity.
When you decided to pull that trigger and you're like, we're going to double our square footage or whatever it ended up being, did you already have substantial demand to be a client at Ish, substantial demand to work for you?
Yes.
Demand came first, which I totally agree is the key to success.
Yes.
The demand will tell you when it's time to pull a trigger, make a move. Right.
And that has been the demand of the space. It's been the demand of desire to work at Ish, to be a client at Ish, needing to grow the team. It's all been based on, okay, we're at max,
You're in a position right now where brands are interested in working with you. They will chase you down as a business partner, which in some ways is incredibly unrelatable for somebody else, right? Going back in time when you were just getting your teeth cut and nobody knew who you were, how did you educate? How did you get resources for your team? What did that look like?
I asked for it. And that I feel like people are so afraid to do. I remember we carried a brand in the beginning and they brought in educators. They came in for one of our anniversary parties, did blowouts for clients, and we spent so little at that time. But my relationship with those reps and those brands, it spoke for itself. I'm not afraid to ask. And if it's a no, it's a no. Who cares? I'll move on. But that, even in the early years, I'm like, picture this. We could do this, and then you could do treatments on the team, and then they can do them on each other. So whenever we were bringing new things in, I'm like, well, we have to make this a thing.
Yeah.
And so most reps are down to do that, even in a smaller scale. I think most people assume that they're not worthy of that, and so they don't even ask. And I think that's where there are comparison issues, or she gets this, or, they're always doing this. But I'm like, I just threw it out there, or created the idea and pitched it. And
you sold the
yes.
vision. That's what it sounded like. You didn't come in and say, my team needs more education. What can you do for me? You said, picture this.
Totally.
And you described something that's of equal opportunity to both sides. Yeah. And why would they not want to deepen the relationship?
Like, maybe we're going to sell more. Maybe we're going to buy more. Maybe we're going to jump into the color line. Who knows? So I feel like, but I'm transparent and always telling people, I don't know what the plan is if the girls don't love it. And that's a hard pill for, I think, reps and brands to swallow, is that I'm not going to make that decision. I'm not behind the chair. I'm not in the treatment room. I have to have the team's buy-in. And if I don't, I'm not pulling the rug out. That's just not who I am. And that can be a challenging conversation sometimes. People will say, well, Katelyn, you own this. And I'm like, I don't care. They do the things to make the magic. I'm not gonna disrupt that.
You've mentioned a couple times that you are a licensed esthetician. You did lashes. You yourself never did hair.
No.
Were there any challenges leading a team of stylists, coming in as their boss, sometimes their mentor, gaining their trust, gaining their respect? Have you ever had anybody consider working for Ish, and when they found out you didn't do hair, had hesitations? How have you stepped into that role of salon leader, leading a team of 60 team members, when for many of them, you've never even done hair yourself?
Yeah.
You've never walked the same walk that they have. Has that been a challenge?
I feel like being a service provider in general is really beautiful to understand, just the ebbs and flows of cancellations and no-shows and, client conversations. Troubleshooting, that's something, no matter, what your craft is, you can have that conversation a little bit, easier. But I will say, from a stylist perspective, I have never not been collaborative from the day I took over. I'm like, ladies, I don't know color. I don't know cutting. I don't know product. Especially at that age, I hadn't even really tried a ton of professional products, And so really leaning into what their favorites were and how to make those choices together as a team. It was really my only way to build trust, but also make decisions that weren't a bust. So especially now, not being in the treatment room, it's huge to be collaborative and ask for input. I don't typically make any decision without them if it has to do with product, services, anything under the umbrella of our service providers.
Do you have like a trusted group of stylists or service providers that you lean into, or do you truly try and get the feedback from every single member of your team and take it into account?
I try my best to get everybody's feedback, but I also understand some people don't care as much. Maybe some people aren't as comfortable speaking up. So I think it's probably a mix. Sometimes I just say I'm taking a poll while I'm sitting in the break room, and there might be 4 stylists in there. I'm like, okay, you guys, hot take. What's your thought on this? And so if it's just right place, right time, and I have to make a decision on a cutting class or something, and it's been crickets, then I'm like, okay, you 4 are in here. What's the vibe? So, some things that need a little bit more of a timely answer, I try to, attack where I can. But on the other things that need time, I try to get everyone's feedback. And we do monthly one-on-ones, so we can get one-on-one feedback too, where people maybe aren't as comfortable in a room of people to say their, maybe it's feedback that's different. So yeah, I definitely couldn't be as successful without collaboration of these team members. There's no way.
And you're collaborating with team members now who are primarily employees. Mm-hmm. So when you first invested in the salon, it was a team of independents.
Yes.
When did you make the shift to an employee-based business? What did that look like? How did you transition?
So we were booth rental until 2020. And while we were coming back from the shutdown and people seeing their leaders either show up or not, it was overwhelming the amount of interest we had from stylists that wanted to be employees. On the esthetician side, I only went like 1 year. So in probably a year or less, I decided I want my estheticians to be employees. Just the way that my independent esties had operated, the services weren't consistent, the product wasn't consistent, the way people were walking out, it just didn't feel like the brand I was building. And so I quickly changed to an employment structure in the spa and lash side. But it wasn't until 2020, and as we started to open up, that I was like, wait, I think I might need to grow this stylist side with a different option, because people were looking for that. And I felt like I had, even my independent stylists were like, oh my gosh, we can help. We can help you with color. We can help you with, onboarding, whatever that looks like, and interviewing, of course, because I'd be like, I love the hair. And the girls are like, I just don't have the eye for it. I think everything is beautiful and pretty. And so there was a lot of hand-holding for me when we started to bring on employee stylists. But my first employee stylist was actually from California. She had a beautiful Instagram. I had met the salon owner prior to meeting her, and she DM'd me and said, hey, I have this stylist. They're being stationed up in Washington. You'll probably only have her for a couple years, but literally like a diamond. And so I thought, okay, let's try it. So she was an angel baby because she was really self-sufficient. Sometimes we didn't even know we were out of foils because we're like, oh, she'd just go get them. I mean, it was not my best moment. And so now we really have created a completely different beast since then. So yeah, it was a big transition for sure.
When you decided to shift to employees for your estheticians or for your stylists, financially, how did that feel? I think a lot of owners understand that in a booth rental salon, there is just a cap. There's a cap on what the team can look like. There's a cap on the culture. There's certainly a financial cap. There's a growth cap. It's just different. It's just a different business structure. When you said, you know what, I think we're going all in on employees. The demand is there. It feels right to me. Did you have any financial hesitations?
I didn't, mainly because I have always been really strategic about stations and rooms and the way that we share. And something that deeply changed after coming back from 2020 is that people wanted to scale their schedules back and they didn't care who was in their room or at their station. And that was something I'd never really used that space for. I always thought like, okay, that's so-and-so's room, that's my room, that's her station. And so to really shift the mindset to maximize the space, because we had no choice at that point. If you were going down to 3 days a week, we're not going to have a station that's not in use. And so we were able to puzzle piece those new stylists that came on board, those new SDs that came on board, to sharing even with independent stations. But we have always operated as a team from like the get because I needed them. I leaned on them for their input and all the things. And so I couldn't, the beautiful thing from a client perspective was when they walked in, they had no idea who was an employee and who was an independent contractor. And I still have a few of my OG independents today, and you just never know. And so I always felt like that's how we operated. So even when those new stylists came on that were, a different employee setup, it just didn't really feel different,
Mm-hmm. For you, as you explain that, it's very logical and it completely makes sense to you, and I understand. Something pinged for me when you were talking about, well, we're not going to have a station that's not in use 3 days out of the week.
Mm-hmm.
That is a minority mindset in the best possible way. When I talk to most salon leaders, they say, well, my stylist would never share a station.
Yeah.
Part-time, full-time, whatever. They're not going to allow somebody into their space.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like for you, at least now, don't see it that way at all. Do you think that your team just understands this is how we do it here? Or was there a conversation of, listen, you're going to start sharing space now? How did that go for you?
I have some service providers that were like, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have some that were like, cool. As long as I get that flexibility in my schedule, that's great. So what happens though, when you start to puzzle piece in that way, it limits people's ability to come in on a day that they don't typically come in. And so there was a lot more commitment that had to be made to, okay, do you want to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Because someone's going to be at your station the remainder of the week. So I think it worked for us to be able to be more strategic, but opening the conversation that this is how it's going to look. Having that many stations in the salon though, and so many moving parts with different schedules, even if somebody wanted to pick up another day, there's a station. They just have to be flexible. But I think one of the things that has been really beautiful on my journey is that it's just not a big deal. I do not big deal things. And so I think that's how the girls tend to operate, is like, okay, we just have to roll with it because it isn't talked about in a way that is negative. It's a way that, we're just more collaborative and we have more team members coming on board. And I will say our demand for hair, especially in that time, bringing on employees, we couldn't get the clients in on our schedules for our independent contractors. We just simply couldn't accommodate that. And so it was time, and they knew it too,
As you were talking about the station sharing and you said it's just kind of how we do things here, that is the perfect way to talk about culture. And I think that's almost the invisible thread that people don't understand. So when we talk about culture, people think like mission, vision, values, we serve our community, this is our brand, this is who we want to be. But the culture is the heartbeat and it is the who you are piece. And you speak with such confidence in saying, but it just is how it is here. And that, I think, is part of your magic. And I do want to talk more about your culture in a moment. But I think that as you're able to confidently say, this is how it goes here.
Yeah.
Totally understand if it doesn't work for you, but here, this is how we run it. So let me just explain to you kind of how it goes. And having that confidence really sets the tone for this is the most successful way for every single person in the building to have the career and the lifestyle that they want. Trust me on this. And then hiring the people who believe in your vision enough to say, okay, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. And you can imagine how much the people who've been with me for many years have had to really hold on and trust what is happening, when walls are being taken down and stations are being built. But, we sat in that empty space together, and I had some of my OGs over for dinner to talk about what was working and what wasn't, especially as we added to the team, because, there were mistakes made in that time and there still are, and so having the ability to have the open conversation of I didn't make the best choice here. Let's figure out how we can, navigate that, I think has been huge. And I am definitely an intense human by nature, but I do really value feedback. So I feel like once team members are able to trust me, then they are able to say, hey, whether it's a product or a person, there's some trust there that I feel like is just so valuable.
You mentioned to me before, your team is your new clientele.
Yeah.
Was that a full mental shift for you?
I think it wasn't necessarily a shift. It's something that I've always leaned into. But once I stepped back from taking clients, I was able to think about that way more on a deeper level too. And, everyone is driven by different things. So it could just be dude, you're killing it in the break room. Or if someone's making a specialty drink, I'm like, hell yes, thank you for doing that, But then there are people that, need more than that. And so it's kind of a way to hone in on people's love language and what they need.
Fair for me is an F word. So I don't know of much in life that is fair. I think that the way that one person would receive acknowledgement or praise, it might make somebody else feel a type of way, but then are you supposed to acknowledge every single person? And if you were to do that, does that make it special for those who are maybe outstanding? Does fairness come up in your business? Is that something that you strive for?
Yes and no. I think from a compensation perspective,
yes.
Right. Starting everybody at the same, that fairness is how I would describe that. Everyone gets the same opportunity. From a acknowledgement and awards and the day-to-day, no, because everyone shows up so differently. And I think people that show up with the vibe and the intention to set the experience for the client, that is deserving of acknowledgement. And I feel like everyone has that opportunity. We
Yeah.
we are not lacking in giving you the tools to kick ass, but it's a choice if you decide not to, you know?
I love that. So the compensation is fair. Anything above and beyond is an opportunity.
Right.
I love that.
Now, when it comes to education, that's probably one of my biggest hurdles is if someone's like, hey, there's this class and it's $4,000 and I want to go.
Right.
And I'm like, well, gosh, I can't send 20 people to that.
Right.
So we're always trying to navigate that. Like, could you be the one that goes and would you come back and tell the team?
Mm-hmm.
Or if you go to this, could you teach this skill? So that is where it gets a little bit hard, just trying to lead from the human perspective. People will be like, I wanted to go, which may not be true, right?
Right.
But just because maybe someone else got to. So that topic is always kind of a moving target for me to find what feels right.
Yep. Yeah. Can you tell us what your compensation scale looks like?
Our compensation scale is kind of self-made because we do have so many part-time service providers all the way up to full-time. And so how we look at our service dollars is on a daily goal structure. So if those daily goals are met, no matter how many days a week that you work, every 4 months, each service provider has the opportunity for a price increase. So the commission structure stays the same, but then their price increase is built in as they reach those goals. So a little unique because we've scaled it back to be really bite-sized for the stylist or the service provider to track.
Mm-hmm.
But they know that they're in full control of that, potential of a 15% price increase in the span of a year.
My daughter, Emily, she just started doing hair. She's a new stylist. Let's say you decide she's a great fit. She's going to work for you. What does starting compensation look like for her and how does she grow?
The most interesting and unique thing I feel like for anyone coming on board as experienced or least experienced, they all start at the same spot. Because our ability to have those price increases starts immediately, it is important for us to start everyone at the same space.
Yeah.
I don't always know if that's right or wrong, but I feel like I've been so insanely impressed with some of our newer stylists or lash artists that came right out of an apprenticeship, just killing it, that it felt wrong to start people in different places just based on time. Because when skill is involved, that speaks for itself.
So a 20-year veteran comes and applies the next day. She's going to start out exactly the same way.
Just like Emily would start. Yeah. So, ultimately, we have some veteran stylists that were independent for years that were like, I want consistency. I want someone else to navigate my books for me and my clientele. What's this going to look like at Ish? And so I feel like it's kind of a hard conversation to have, but ultimately reaching those goals is tangible. So if you put the work in, you'll get to that next level anyways, So I feel like it's a team effort.
If you had to pinpoint your biggest Salon Ish challenge to date, what would it be?
I think my biggest challenge is peopling, for sure. I think I go hard and I have to really keep in mind that Ish is in my blood and only my blood. And it can be so filled with heartbreak and a little disappointment. And so I feel like I haven't become hardened by any stretch, but more so prepared, And I want every single freaking person to be at Ish forever, but I do know that that's not realistic, And so when it comes to people, there's unpredictability, dishonesty. And so I think that, when I'm faced with that stuff, that's probably what gets me to my breaking point sometimes of like, damn, I don't know that I was cut out for this. And then my heart repairs a little bit.
Yeah.
And we move on.
Do you think a little piece will always be there? Like, do you ever think you'll get to a point where it's like, I don't care who stays, I don't care who goes?
Never.
It's impossible.
Yeah. And, a second location is everyone's question all the time.
Right.
All the time.
Right.
And I one of my favorite things is sitting in the break room, dangling my feet from a bar stool and yapping. And that's what brings me joy. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I diluted that into a second location. They wouldn't get the same me. And that wouldn't excite me,
It's really great perspective. Like, maybe you would double your income. Maybe it would be incredibly successful.
Totally.
But it's missing the joy piece,
Yeah.
it's the whole foundation of the empire that you've built.
Yeah.
Is you're obsessed with it. You're in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
You still love what you do. You love who you work with. You love who you serve. You love your community.
Mm-hmm.
You're still excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
The moment that passion dies and it's just about making more money, you lost the plot.
Yeah. I mean, that is what it is for me, is the social element, the magic of transformations, watching people grow. I wish it could be more about money, but it's just not how I'm made. And it's of the relationships and the connections, the friendships that are made at Ish between our team members, clients.
Yeah.
It's just, that is what drives me so much more than driving to another location and building another team. It's just not, I don't think it's for me.
When they say like, do what you love and the money will come, that's you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I'll ever think that we're the best. So I feel like, gosh, if we ever had a second location, we'd have to look at this one and be like, damn, we can't do better. And that's just not realistic,
There's more to be done.
There's more to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, fast forward a little bit. You no longer take clients. You don't take clients of your own. When did you know it was the right time to step out of the room, let go of your clientele, and lead full time? And how did that feel?
I feel that almost my choice to not be in the treatment room anymore kind of aligns with the way that the growth of the business and the space has gone. I was at my max capacity. I had created a schedule that Tuesdays were my office day. Everybody knew that we can connect with Katelyn on Tuesdays. And then sometimes I'd take some clients on Tuesdays and maybe make myself not so available on Tuesdays. And so there was a point where I felt like I was pulled so much in the direction of the team that I had to really make a choice of what was going to work for me. Is it taking clients and letting someone else be the point of contact for the team, or letting somebody else take on my clients and do the work I love so I can be a leader for the team? And I don't know if you remember, I DM'd you.
I do.
I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my mind. And a lot of that was just time. It was really hard to get out of the workspace because I was organizing clients and, communicating with them and scheduling, and then organizing people's call outs or schedule shifts, or, just I need a hairspray, And so I think you challenging me to say, to think like, what do you love more? And I'm like, I think I want to lead the team. I think I want to grow the business. There's not an ounce of me that thinks I could have the team I have now and the space, because that was pre-remodel, pre-expansion. There's no way I could have been able to do that without stepping back from the treatment room, for sure. So financially, that's where I had to like think, okay, my services, I could really, I'm sure so many salon owners behind the chair in the treatment room can identify with the fact that our income can cover a lot of things, you know, ebbs and flows with payroll or a maintenance issue or an investment into a product or education. And so I really had to take a step back and think, okay, I don't maximize my time in this room because I have a baby and, you know, all these things that somebody else could simply step into that room, maximize the space, probably do better lashes than me. And I let that happen. And it is weird sometimes that I don't get that client connection, but the way I see it now is that my team are my clients. The clients that are walking through the door are theirs. And so that's kind of how we operate. If there's needs, if there's wants, if there's concerns, that's my job, you know, to cater to the team. And I do it kind of in the same way that I did with my clients, you know, probably not quite as personal and deep, but, you know, we have those relationships that I think fill my cup that my clients once did for sure.
Candidly, did you lose any revenue when you stepped out of the treatment room and fully into the role as a leader?
The way that I had my business structured, it probably felt like a hit in the beginning because I had always had my own services going into my own account so that I could be in full control of, you know, if there were any sort of urgent things that happened, I paid myself out of that and the business was separate. So that felt weird, having been a service provider for so long and having the tips and cash on hand and just all of those things that you're used to. It was a shift, but, you know, I met with my accountant and we changed what my pay looked like. And ultimately, it was, you know, so much better than continuing to take clients because I was able to grow my people, maximize the spaces, the stations and the rooms to where it just flowed.
And this is very poignant too, because I think there's even a mental shift when you say you lost your almost like side stream of revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And now you really were all in on the salon because now the salon is your paycheck.
Yes.
You have to be all in on the business.
Yeah.
And I think what a lot of leaders struggle with is what comes first, the growth of the business or me stepping back. Mm-hmm. And for you, do you think you could have grown the business had you not stepped back?
No. I definitely think it was needed that I was in that treatment room and had the cash flow and was able to feel probably above all just in control of my own income. It's almost like they ran parallel, you know? It was like Ish over here, Katelyn's services over here. And if something, you know, goes off the rails, we can help, you know, and that's a little predictable and I can work a little more. I could take a couple more clients. And so it was a mindset shift for sure that like absorbing the two is healthy and okay. And it's the only thing that allowed me to grow for sure and lean into the team more. They were like, you could tell, you know, they'd be waiting outside the door, looking at my schedule. You could feel eyeballs, you know, they're like waiting to talk about, you know, maybe they need to go home early or something. And I'm like, don't have time, you know.
Thank you for sharing that key indicator, because I think a lot of owners think, how will I know when it's time? And it's like when you can feel that your team is not getting enough of you.
Yeah.
Probably going to be a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any part of you that was holding on to that clientele just in case?
Yeah. And I also think pride, you know, like I'm a prideful girly. I want to be in it with the team. I want to be talking about clients. And I also wanted to show the team that I'm willing to take a brow wax if someone walks in while I'm eating lunch. Like, let's set the tone here. And so there was a little bit of a shift for sure in that, and holding on to my clientele too. Like, those are my ride or dies. And I thought, there's no way they're going to stay. They love me. And so seeing those people still after years of not taking clients anymore and giving them a hug and showing them love in the same way, it's just different. And like I said, they probably get better service and a better experience because they're not like pulled, because I wasn't able to probably be there 100% all the time if someone's knocking on my door asking a question.
Okay, so let's talk about your large team. So now you have 60 team members.
Yeah.
I mean, whoa, who would have ever thought? That's massive. How many renters?
We have 3.
3 booth renters,
Yeah.
57 employees.
Yeah.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about what the team looks like. How many departments do you have? What role do you have? Admin? Do you have anybody who's in leadership with you? Give us a sense of what that 60-person team looks like today.
In the space, just to kind of take you on a mental tour, we have, the salon that's full service. We have lash and wax rooms that are less spa, more of like a higher vibe. In that area, we have piercing, permanent jewelry, flash tattoos, permanent cosmetics. And then on the spa side, which we call the sanctuary, is massage, more treatment and relaxation skincare. We do spray tans as well. So there's a lot of services in that space. We offer nails. We've been doing that for several years, which has been so fun. So it's funny because as we grew, everyone's like, oh, this is like a one-stop shop. If you only had this or if you only had that. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I think we do it all. So with those service providers, we have all of our stations are full, all of our rooms are full. So, I think we probably have in the 40s service providers between estheticians, lash artists, stylists, nail artists, massage therapists. And then on the admin side, we have our front desk team. We usually have 2 or 3 front desk team members on the clock all the time. And then I have my angel baby, Beth, who is our HR. She helps me with all things hiring, interviewing, scheduling, time off for the team. She's really everyone's go-to for admin things, day-to-day stuff that comes up. And then we have our front desk manager, Taylor, who just is really there to make everything shine. One of the most important things to me is how Salon Ish looks. That when you see us online, that it better look that way when you walk through the door. I think social media and online photos in general can be fairly misleading. And so I always want to make sure that what you see and that what we're putting out there is freaking real. And so when people come in, I want, no foils on the ground, no toilet paper in the bathroom on the ground, things wiped down. As a client, you're just looking around, so making sure everything is dialed. So our whole front desk team I call it our heartbeat. It's the heartbeat of the salon. We literally could not operate without them. It's insane.
Your front desk team is the heartbeat. I've experienced them and they're incredible. You utilize your front desk in a really unique capacity. Can you tell us about what somebody's role might look like if they are working your desk? Beyond greeting clients, what else?
We definitely, first and foremost, train on client experience. We have a specialty drink every month that is their goal. We keep like a tally how many drinks they make in a month, and we give prizes because Our stylists or SDs, massage therapists, maybe they don't have time. So offering that experience is huge. But I mean, they're answering the phone, they're scheduling, they're rescheduling. If someone calls out, they're working through that, but then they keep everything dialed. They're doing laundry, they're making sure that the snack and coffee area is stocked all the time. But I really think that, some people love that. And then some people want more. And so, some of our front desk team members, they do inventory for, snacks and coffee and cleaning supplies and, just making sure that, there's opportunity for them to level up a little bit there. But we love to do challenges and, whether it's offering retail, if we have a special, or if it's offering that specialty drink or snacks. Something that we love to try to do for new clients is a tour, which sometimes can't happen based on time or the demand at the front desk if there's a line or something. But, the space is huge. People have anxiety, they get stressed. It's a big space to walk into with music playing and lots of moving parts. And so the front desk job is to really cater to that person. And so you'll see some people check in and they're like, hey, they know where they're going. But then other people, a tour for the bathroom, a tour, of the spa, just to kind of showcase what we offer. It's just so important and they're so good at it.
So the Ish vibe is something that was very tangible to me the first time we met. Many, many years ago, I first saw it through social media. And your brand was one of the things that first stuck out to me about you. Your brand was so clear. It had a message. It had a voice. Then I walked into Ish for the first time and I was like, oh, I feel it. It's one of the only moments I've had such a clear connection between what I saw online and what I felt in person. So it's interesting to hear you say it is such a focus for you. I want to read the definition of the Ish brand from your handbook back to you. The meaning of Ish is rooted in everything. It encompasses all things beauty and everything in between. Maybe you're looking for red-ish hair, you have blue-ish eyes, you're a size 6-ish, or even want an appointment around 4-ish. You get it. We cater to everyone and everyone in between. Inclusivity has been at the heart of Ish from the jump. Like, that is the tie that binds. How do you turn that into such a clear feeling? Like, what you're trying to create is not a color, it's not a print, it's not a logo. It really is an energy. How have you done that?
I feel because it's the way I operate, it does permeate to the team, but it's the way that we hire. It's the space. We try to make it as inclusive as we can. One of my stylists the other day said, I love you for loving us misfits. And I thought, what a funny thing to say, because we're not a bunch of misfits, But I think for someone feeling the love that maybe didn't feel a sense of belonging at a past salon or growing up, whatever that looks like, that sat with me a little bit because I'm like, gosh, what an interesting perspective she has on herself, which I don't. But I do feel like if you came in, saw all of us as a team, we're all so freaking different. And I feel like my personality, the way I operate, there's a lot of layers. And so I feel like we can relate with a lot of people. We can love on people. We can draw, pretty solid boundaries with people. And if they don't fit, they don't fit. And so I think that's where a lot of trust and safety comes in that environment is, yeah, we're having a good freaking time. But I also am not messing around. So there's trust in that if maybe there's a team member that isn't the vibe, that doesn't fit the culture, more or less we're going to handle that. And I think encouraging the team members too to handle their own shit when it comes up, it is, it's a team effort for sure. And of course we have issues, right? And my goal always is to handle it, as best as I can, or encourage others to have the hard conversations if that makes more sense. But I think it keeps the culture alive. I think that it feels inclusive because people are heard, and that trust is really built on that for sure.
I think it's inclusive because you're inclusive, and you're right. It's the culture you've created. This is simply the way the business operates.
Yeah.
How do you find team members who are a good fit for Ish? How do you filter out the ones that don't belong here?
Yeah.
And if you could put a number to it, how many applicants a year do you think you get?
We get a lot of applications. We have a lot for front desk. It's a lot of weeding out people that, even from a service provider perspective, that don't have experience, or maybe don't have the right experience, or we can visibly see their work online and it doesn't fit well, or maybe they need more education and we're in a space that we can provide it, or we're not. So I feel like there's always kind of a little bit of a cyclical thing happening at Ish, because, if people go out on maternity leave, or they move away, or find different opportunities, it opens up spaces for different opportunities that we have to decide what we have the time for. So if we have the capacity to do an apprentice training, we'll do it. But if we don't, we're looking for something super specific, with more time behind the chair in the treatment room that we don't have to deeply cater to. But I feel like I've gotten a lot better at really seeing people for who they are. And that starts with the interview. And that can be hard. But, even if someone really does amazing hair and they're just simply not a vibe, we just have to bless and release.
How do you decide when there's enough margin to bring on somebody who's not going to directly impact the bottom line?
What year was it that we were at the retreat in San Francisco? Was that 2017?
17, right.
So I remember writing on a piece of paper, we were at $450,000.
Okay.
And my goal was to, go above and beyond that the next year. So obviously we've grown in so many ways since then. But even at that time, I was bringing on a manager. So I was able to figure out how that person was going to impact our bottom line. And she did our socials. She responded to DMs. She helped with the flow of the front desk. And I probably doubled that in the next 2 years.
Wow.
Because I wasn't in charge of that anymore. Someone was monitoring those things. And so, yes, not a service provider, but deeply impacted our service dollars for sure.
You did something that most leaders won't do, which is usually when I speak with a leader who's like, I'm at my wit's end. I need to bring in support. I'm bringing in a salon manager. I say, great, they can afford it. No problem. I said, let's look at the job description. And the job description is check in with the front desk, do the salon shopping, check in with salon maintenance, confirmation calls and emails, and baby order the retail. There is no chance that person's going to impact your bottom line in a good way. You're only going to take a loss.
Yeah.
And what I hear you saying is with that first hire, you said, how do I make this person pay their own salary and then increase revenue for the entire team? Because if we're not doing that, this whole thing is a waste of time.
Yes.
So you were able to, from the moment you hired that person, really start to give up some control and say,
yeah,
you got to get into the marketing, because if we're not driving new business, we're missing the mark.
100%.
And I think that's a testament to you to be able to find the right person who can hit the ground running. Would you rather pay more and hire somebody qualified?
No.
You'd rather train somebody in-house?
Absolutely.
What does that mentorship look like?
I feel like every manager that we've ever had has worked at the front desk first. To be in it with that team, to understand the ebbs and flows, to understand how to navigate client complaints, upset clients, team members that are upset, being able to really see the business for what it is, but then also be at everyone's level. So it's not like, who's this? You know,
right.
Because that's not how I roll. I want to be in it with this team. And so someone else has to feel that same way versus some superior approach.
Yeah.
That is not it. But, you know, people also grow out of those positions. So it's navigating how to take that role, put it on paper, and then be ready if someone needs to move on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Jessica asked, what do all team meetings look like and what do your one-on-ones look like? And are you hosting them or somebody else?
I am so deeply up in there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'm always super respectful for other salon owners, whether they don't have that capacity, they don't have the passion to do that. But we do one all-team meeting every January. It's a yearly reset. We talk about one kind of niche thing. So this year was client experience, how all things feed into that, you know, dress code, attendance, making the specialty drink, and really focused on that. But we also do headshots, so people love to show up for that. And, you know, we put those on the website. Like it's a whole thing, and people carve that out for their whole day. And then we move through the rest of the year with one-on-one meetings. So obviously stylists connect with stylists, SDs connect with SDs through education. And if we need to have a meeting, we will. But our one-on-ones are every single month, and those are 30 minutes. And it literally consumes an entire week of the month.
I was just going to ask. It has to be hours of your time.
It's hours. But I think that's where things go really wrong, when there is lack of connection with people who can help. And so if there's no accessibility to the person that could answer questions for you, solve problems with you, that's where I think people feel it's time to leave a place, right? So in one-on-ones, they have a printout of their numbers, how close they are to earning their price increase, where their retail numbers are, and like I mentioned, their accountability list of their social media activity, their dress code, client experience, and attendance. That all comes into play now. So they actually self-rate themselves now, and then we do as well. But, you know, it's also a time to chat if something's going on at home, if they need support outside of Ish, if their person that they're sharing their station with is making them crazy, if their hairspray is going missing, you know, if their hot tool was used and they're pissed about it, we're going to talk about it. And then we're going to find a solution, right? So I think those moments allow us to encourage people to handle things, or if we need to get involved, we will.
You mentioned to me that you can fill a new stylist chair in 90 days or less. It's incredibly impressive. How many Google reviews does Ish have right now?
We have around 400.
Which is incredible. Like, there's so many salons who would say, I would kill to have 400. But you don't have the most of any salon owner I've ever met. Yet you're filling chairs so quickly. How many Instagram followers do you have?
Around 13,000.
Which, again, is impressive by most standards, but you don't have 80,000,
No.
Which is when people think about, I almost want to say like Insta-famous salons or infamous salons. It might even be a better way to say it. It almost feels like that's the bar we're trying to reach. Yet when you peel back the curtain, and I am in a unique position in that I do get to see the back end of a lot of salon businesses. I get to see what the front looks like and what the back looks like.
Yeah.
And while you do have an impressive front, I think people's minds would be blown to know what the back looks like. And I think it's such an incredible example of maybe don't worry so much about how many likes the post got.
Absolutely.
Maybe don't worry if you didn't get 40 new Google reviews in the last month. Figure out what works for your business and go all in on it. And I think that for you, it's been your brand message, your voice, and your culture that has led the charge and made such a huge impact and a difference. Now, where you're at with your marketing now, I know that you were very heavy-handed in all of your marketing for a long time. What does your marketing team look like today?
So now it is really trying to stay aligned with the brand all the way down to fonts and colors. And for a period of time, especially like when people needed humor and people were wanting to just chuckle on Instagram and the socials, I feel like we got a little off brand, but it was a good frickin' time. But now it's really beautiful. It's definitely more strategic. My social media manager is so in tune with trends too. She is fairly obsessed with featuring me, which sometimes is like, okay, I want someone else to do this, but I'm so comfortable with it. I do feel like because of my connection with the community, that's where a lot of, the relatability comes in. But ultimately, being able to kind of showcase the beautiful work in conjunction with the fact that Ish is just fun. We are professional. We deliver great services and great outcomes, but we're also having a good time. And so her showcasing that is important for sure.
When you do these community outreach opportunities, is the primary goal build business, or is the primary goal be in the community?
My primary goal is to bring the Ish vibes anywhere. And so we look at the event and what it is and how we're going to service people, whether that's bringing our flash tattoos, permanent jewelry, if it's something that we just simply need to slap glitter on people because it's more fast paced, that's what we do. So I feel like going back to how we hire, that is something that is important to me. I don't expect every single team member ever to say yes or to ever say yes. But I know that there are people on that team that feel just as passionate about not only giving back, but like marketing in a way that feels real. And I don't know, it's almost like you're gifting, but receiving a gift at the same time, for sure.
Tell us about your Y2K event.
Oh my gosh. So our Y2K event, Ish 2K,
Thank you,
was our 16th anniversary party. So from year one, we had anniversary parties. I don't know why. I just wanted to celebrate. I love a party and I love a good time. So it's been themed every year. And when we went into the COVID shutdown, it was the weekend of our anniversary party. So all bets were off. And I thought, this is my sign to stop. It's too big of a production. It's wearing me down. I don't feel like I had the right team members in place at that time to feel like they wanted to party. And it's really a client appreciation event. It's our one big client appreciation event of the year. And I just felt maxed. And so I'm like, that's my sign. And so for 2020, 21, and 22, we didn't do it. We did anniversary months where we, got cute cake pops and we gave them out all month and we celebrated in that way. But once there was a transition in the salon, I felt like it's time. It was time with the right team members in place. And people were like, are you ever going to bring that back? I'm like, okay, so you're missing it too. And so we started with Ishland, which was a Candyland theme. And then Planet Ish last year, and then Ish 2K this year. So it's deeply themed, it's hardcore, and we treat clients to mini services all night. Our vendors come out swinging. This year we had Moroccan Oil there. They did a charm bar for their new lip glosses, which we gifted every client that came through the door. And we did mini services all night, space buns, curl refresh, glitter bar. It was just a good time. And it's a really great way to bring clients together and show them our love for them, but they bring their friends, So multiple people were like, I've never been here before, So it's a really fun way to celebrate, but also cross promote too with our vendors. So
a lot of salon leaders want to bring the community in, think about hosting events. The way that you just described, you facilitated a major event. You didn't go to Trader Joe's and buy appetizers and put them on platters. This was a huge production.
Yeah.
If you don't mind sharing, how much do you spend annually on client events, team events? You do a huge holiday party for your own team. What kind of investment is that for you annually?
You know, it's probably my toxic trait. As a salon owner, those things are super important to me. And so I spend probably between $150,000, $200,000 a year on those things. But ultimately, it's what fills my cup. I feel like we're in a deep need to have community and togetherness. And so seeing the team be able to have those moments together, it's beautiful. But it also does really energize people wanting to be a part of the team, clients wanting to walk through the door. So I feel like those things, I don't know if I was like a party planner in my past life or, you know, what that looks like, but we love it.
Now, today you're wearing an Ish doll necklace.
Yes.
And one of my favorite things about Ish has always been Ish swag. You have sweatshirts and T-shirts and jewelry and all kind of, all things Ish are available to invest in at the salon.
Yeah.
It is a rotating inventory. Tell us about that side of the business. Are clients buying things like this? How do you design things like this? Where did the vision for it come from?
I think that with my branding love and passion for the Ish brand, I think that a lot of our merch and our custom swag is a combination of my love for branding, but also my love for gifting. I mean, it's probably my love language for the team. And so I feel really proud that people want to rep it, even clients, you know. But when it comes to Ishmas, that's my favorite day of the year to really gift hardcore to them and kind of customized pieces that you only get if you're on the team that year, you know? So I'm sure some of these girls have so much Ish stuff, it's sickening. But we have started to retail it in the retail area, and it's fun to see out there in the wild, for sure.
This is different than I thought. So when you first created your Ish merch, it was for you and for the team.
Yes. And I require the front desk team to have an Ish shirt on every day, just so they're identifiable and clients know who to ask questions and who to go to. So we try to keep it fun and funky. We, you know, girls are sending me inspo all the time of like, oh my gosh, this style should be an Ish shirt. And so anything that we typically have left over, we will put out there for clients to buy. And I'm always shocked. I'm like, they love it.
And when they buy the merch and we say they love Ish, it's because they love you and the culture and the stylist that they see.
Totally.
And you are stellar at interviewing and bringing in the right people. Have you ever had to make any hard terminations when you've brought in the wrong person?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like not only, you know, are there times that people interview differently than what's real, but I also feel like people change, you know, and I feel like we've had hard conversations about the growth of Ish. You know, we were a small salon at one point. And so to see the growth over the years might not be a fit for everybody. So having those hard moments, it's needed and it's real, but it's hard for sure. But sometimes, you know, I'm sure you've experienced that there's kind of a breath of fresh air on the other side. And so there are moments that are hard, but then you're reassured, after all is said and done.
You mentioned you go hard, and you go hard in the paint for Ish. There's no doubt about it. How do you balance, you're a mom, you are married, you have a whole family that depends on you also. How do you find the balance of leading this team of 60, creating this culture, hosting these events, and then still being present in your personal life too?
It's been a work in progress to find balance. I feel so deeply that my husband and I have been able to grow beyond words together in balancing the demands of Ish. He's an elementary school principal, so the demands of his career, and that mine doesn't have the structure and the different layers in place that his does. So I'm typically the answering point for a lot of different layers at Ish. And so him having that more traditional work life approach is definitely a challenge. But over the years, and as our son has grown too, and gained some more independence and can pack his own lunch, things start to set a little bit more. But I've always felt like balance is a really hard word for me. I love everything. I love to go to the gym. I love to work so much. I love to be at home so much. I love to hang out with my family so much. And so it's a little bit hard sometimes, I think, to find what maybe one would define as balance. At this point in my life, I do think that there is an extreme difference in my proximity with Ish than it ever has been. And what I mean is I'm able to step away. I have those really great managers in place that can answer the questions that I don't need to be looking at my phone. I'm not posting the social media. I'm not tethered in a way that I once was or thought that I needed to be. I do feel a really big sense of calm around it. And I think that really creates a different setting at home for sure.
How do you define success?
Success to me is a happy team, a team that communicates, a team that gets along. One of the things that one of my stylists said the other day is my clients say that they can feel that everybody gets along. The energy of the space, it's positive, and that you can actually feel that people get along. And to me, that has to be under the umbrella of success. I mean, we're healthy, we're fed, we're happy at home, but from a successful Ish life, to me, if a client can feel the Ish vibes walking in, that people get along and there's love in the room, that's good shit.
Do you feel like you've made it?
No.
How will you know when you have?
I don't think there's a definition for me. I feel that we'll keep growing and that we'll keep adding to the team and we'll keep making service changes and menu changes. I don't see myself as a sit and watch, I've made it type of gal. I think that we'll just keep getting better and better for sure.
Do you have an exit strategy?
No. No. Sometimes I like to offer the salon to Beth or Taylor and say, all right, you guys, that's enough for me. But in all seriousness, I don't know how I wouldn't have Ish in my life. And Anthony and I have talked about it. My best girlfriends and I have talked about it. But what would I do? It is part of my being for sure.
What would you say to somebody who's deep in it?
I just think in a world of people being fraudulent in the way that they operate, like turn off the socials and what everybody is doing and just authentically build a business that speaks to you. If you don't, you're not going to love it. And if you don't, you're going to bring on the wrong team members. And if you're constantly in the cycle of trying to create something that simply doesn't align with you, it's just not going to fill your cup. And how shitty to be a leader in a space that it doesn't feel right for you. I don't know. I think you really have to dive deep into what you want and not what everybody else wants.
I have a really big question for you. Do you know what end game is for Salon Ish? Like if you were to see like where this whole thing's headed, like if it's not another location, which at this point it's not, who knows? We don't know what the future's going to hold, right? Where do you think you're moving? Like what are you expanding into?
I feel my calling is to stay put, but grow Ish as an overall beast. You know, where we are, how we operate on my block, downtown Puyallup, and make it so multifaceted. We have the platform, which is for rentals and education. We have the studio upstairs, which is for content creation and photography. I feel like not only does it feed my soul for growth, but it keeps it really simple in the same space and doesn't dilute my energy. But it also really excites the team of like, because, you know, people are like, she's at it again. But it's exciting because it's a benefit for them. You know, they can run upstairs and get content created anytime and have ideas, and we can facilitate that, you know? So end game, I don't know. In a dream world, I would love to have maybe someone in the future, you know, an Ish doll already be interested in the Salon Ish journey. But you know, I kind of have a death grip for now.
Thank you so much. You know what? Thank you for an incredible 10 years, because I think I've learned as much or more from you than you ever could have learned from me. So thank you. It's been an amazing journey. I'm just so grateful for the evolution of our relationship and to have been able to just champion for you and be so inspired by everything you create. I'm grateful for you.
Thank you. I think we've grown our businesses together in very parallel ways, so it's pretty freaking cool.
Grateful for you.
Thank you.